Hi, this is Soul Mechanics, practical tune-ups to be a healthy human, and I'm your host, Kate Foley. Let's say you had an unfathomable experience, something transcendent. Maybe an illness was healed, or you no longer experience depression, or your vision has been restored. What happened? Did something inexplicable happen? Did you have an epiphany? How was your life changed? Do you still wake up in the morning with the same cravings? Are you still engaging in the same relationships as you were before your transformation? Are you still busying yourself to exhaustion? What is your role in this transformation? Do you think someone, a practitioner for instance, is going to come along and fix your problems for you? Did that actually happen? Healing is not a destination. If you've experienced trauma or an existential crisis or illness, anything that you might perceive as requiring healing, you need to understand that our lives are a spectrum. We are constantly healing from something. We're constantly in motion. Or perhaps we're transitioning to a different form of self. But no matter what word you use for the process, it doesn't end. Our past self has evolved into our present self. Maybe there are aspects that are different. Maybe old patterns have changed. Maybe your life has taken on a new and unique path. But the healing you initiated doesn't just end one day. The word healing has become a bit overused and exploited. It conjures a sense of lack in people. Marketing has made the word healing a household word, indicating that healing is outside of us, and we need someone to fix us. Whether you like it or not, your body, merely out of survival, will gravitate towards healing. Our spirits gravitate towards healing. We don't need to pay the most recently popular medium $500 to connect us with our ancestors, to tell us how to heal. It's in our evolution. Novelty is not going to fix old patterns. No matter how many healers you visit, no one is going to take away your painful journey from you. That is a sacred path, and it's uniquely yours. And practitioner hopping is just another form of shopping. It's external, and frankly, it's addicting. How many people do you need to tell you about you? The best healers will give you a mirror and tell you to go home. Because after all, healing isn't about taking away our ailments. It's about returning to the self, the true self. And this is not easy. You can't capitalize on depth. I frequently hear people talking about dying to their old selves or opening a new chapter in their lives. Many people talk about having a phoenix experience, dying and then rising up through the ashes in a storm of fire, exploding into the air a transformed mythical creature. I think our language has diluted the actual experiences, so that when someone really does have a phoenix experience, no one really cares. If thousands of people are having phoenix experiences while they drink their coffee every morning, why would that be noteworthy? The overexpression of these very potent experiences relegates them to a mere morning ritual. We tend to forget the power and reverent nature of communal confessions. When we exaggerate our sacred experiences for the sake of attention, or even for humor, we're removing its potency. One could argue that when we describe an ordinary experience as extraordinary and sacred, we're lying. Why can't we keep the sacred sacred? Why can't we keep it extraordinary? Why do we have to lie? Is lying keeping the extraordinary from surfacing in our lives? Is lying more comfortable than facing your ordinary self? Is lying preferable to living a humble, yet spiritually noble life? Some of this may have to do with the emotional pain we feel day to day. Exaggerating our life experience and receiving validation for it can give us that little hit of dopamine to keep us striving for more. Often this pain is related to something in the past, or thoughts of regret, or traumatic memories, or that unfulfilled dream. You can't get rid of your past, no matter how much you want to. And to some extent, even though our pasts might be painful, don't you think it's a little disrespectful to trash them? Just because it's your life, does that mean it's okay? Our past selves were doing the best they could. We do the best we can with our present knowledge and experience. Maybe our future self is wiser and has more clarity, but that doesn't mean we should discard the person and all their complications, complexities, and dysfunctions who took us here to the future. I've heard so many people say they want to change who they are and get rid of the pain they feel. And although this is understandable, I can assure you, the more you want to get rid of an aspect of yourself or get rid of your past, the harder it is to do. Clinging to an idea or a notion is just that, clinging. Change doesn't happen by getting rid of something you don't like. Change happens anyway. When you're seeking a change from a practitioner and change occurs, how are you affected? What are you expecting? Are you expecting only desirable results? Are you expecting a certain set of experiences? Do you realize that when you're asking for a healing or for relief of some chronic or acute condition, you may not be met with a pleasant experience? You might have to experience more pain or a shift of some sort that brings about uncomfortable or unfamiliar feelings. Let me give you a couple of examples. Let's say you go to your chiropractor and you've been laying on the floor for 3 days because your low back went out. Your chiropractor gives you an adjustment and you're in more pain. Do you think they did something wrong? Does that make them a bad chiropractor? Do you understand the physiology of what happened? This happens frequently, and I'll tell you, no, this does not make your chiropractor a bad practitioner. In fact, your adjustment was just that, an adjustment. Your soft tissue often responds by spasming or simply responding. You cannot be on your floor for 3 days, go to your chiropractor, and expect to sit in some unhealthy position at work or wherever, or go back to the golf course, or go to the swimming pool and throw your kids around. Our bodies don't work that way. If you've had a chronic condition, I don't care if it's heart failure or tendinitis, you cannot expect your practitioner to heal you if you aren't willing to heal yourself. This brings me to the idea of control. Lots of people, including myself, want our lives to fit into a nice, neat little package. We want to predict what tomorrow will bring. We want any ailments to be short, convenient, and predictable. And when we visit our practitioners, we want them to fix us, but without any disruption in our routine. Do you know how ridiculous this is? This doesn't even make biological sense, and yet it happens all the time. What is your relationship with control in your life? How much are you trying to control? If you are trying to control the type of change or the amount of change that you're asking for, you'll likely end up with nothing happening or a worsening condition, and definitely with frustration. When you try to control an outcome and you've asked for something to change, like a health condition, you are ultimately pulling the emergency brake. We are not in control of change, any change. Anytime you ask for something to change, your job is to let go every time. You have to surrender control. Change and control are opposing forces. Sometimes change brings about discomfort or anger or feelings of lack of control. We all know what emotion surfaces when we lose control, the old familiar anxiety. What are some physical symptoms related to a lack of control or anxiety? Well, a couple are racing heart, sweating, dizziness, shaking, high blood pressure, low blood pressure, crying, chest pain, shortness of breath. How about anger? Rashes, heat, heart palpitations, adrenaline, high blood pressure, crying, pupils are narrowed. Change is not predictable. There is no clinical guideline for change, no linear outline. If you want healing, you want change. Be aware that when you ask for a change, you're asking for a disruption. That doesn't mean disruption is your destination, but it means that you're asking for a shakeup. Again, this is not predictable, so I can't tell you how big or little this shakeup is. The shakeup is in relationship to your dysfunction. Do you have a conservative, stable life? Do you have a lot of money in the bank and you aren't used to big changes? If you're financially comfortable, maybe you don't want a change. When life has become predictable and stable, sometimes we keep chronic conditions in place because deep down, we know change means unpredictable disruption. What is illness or pain or tension doing for you? Perhaps it's an inconvenience, but it might be keeping certain people or patterns in place that you don't want to change. How many times have you been to a physician and completely surrendered your ability to choose? I've seen so many people, strong, intelligent people, hand over their self-accountability and self-advocacy once they stood in front of a physician. I find this incredibly frightening, not just for the public, but also for the physician. No wonder we're in such a health crisis. Physicians, PAs, and nurse practitioners are not in charge of your health. They have incredible caseloads and limited time. They cannot see and know, nor should they care about how to keep you healthy. They are illness consultants. Some have more knowledge about health than others, but largely, they study and research and treat illness, not health. We are responsible for our health and well-being. We are responsible for our changes. When you decide to see a practitioner or a healer, you have a responsibility to show up, be open and communicative. Don't walk in and expect the practitioner to read you. You have work to do. Do you expect anyone in your life to live your life for you? No. Your health and attendance to your health takes accountability. Ask for your healing. Know what is happening in your life and explain this in detail. Healing is not fortune telling. It's not a carnival. As I've said in earlier episodes, healing is a coordination and it always involves change. You are not alone, but rather, you're the director. If you don't take it seriously, how can you expect your appointment to be impactful? Your reliability to your appointments is your reliability to yourself. The question is, do you really want to heal? Do you really want a change in your life? This is Kate Foley. Thank you for listening.